Hello YouTube, I'm Andrew Does Hair. You can find my work on Instagram at Andrew Does Hair. Have you ever heard somebody say something along the lines of like, well yeah, Brad Pitt can pull off that bad fade because he looks like Brad Pitt? Or like when you see another celebrity and they go, well it's just a really mundane haircut. It only looks really good because it's on them. I totally understand why like normal average people can see things that way. But if you're a hairdresser or a stylist of any kind or a barber, you need to never say that again. When I say Brad Pitt 132 times throughout the rest of this video, I'm not specifically talking about Brad Pitt. I'm talking about any celebrity or influencer or model who we look at and go, well, they can do that, but I can't because I'm a normal person. They could pull it off, but I can't. I want to talk about some of the things that they have that we can't have, too bad, but also some of the things they have that give us that feeling about them that we absolutely can have. And I want to wrap up the video in the end by talking about why it's so important if you're a barber or a hairstylist to stop seeing things that way like, well, you're a regular person. I can only give you regular person hair. We can't actually give you the Brad Pitt haircut or the David Beckham haircut or the Ryan Gosling haircut. We can give our clients 98% of what Brad Pitt has, minus whatever genetic predispositions that we can't give them. Can't make them taller, right? So in terms of genetic predispositions, what I mean by that is a lot of these celebrities, actors, models, they have like some facial symmetry that normal people don't tend to have. Like they start off with like they're dealt a good hand of cards. They're just built different. Their facial proportions, their features, their height, their build in some manner or another is just like not average. The thing is like, if we look at that factor and we say, well, that's it. We can't give you a good haircut because you don't have perfect bone structure. That's like saying we can't build you a house because there's only one kind of foundation for a house, and if you can't have that kind of foundation, we just can't build you a house. Maybe your cheekbones aren't exactly where Brad Pitt's cheekbones are. The thing is, Brad Pitt's hair works really well for him because it's tailored to his facial features, his cheekbones, his forehead, his occipital bone, his parietal ridge. And every person has these things for the most part. A lot of what we're seeing is, sure, there's a little bit of that genetic predisposition that his cheekbones are a little more prominent than ours. What we're really seeing on top of that, building on that, is that the haircut is built on these features. And we absolutely can build your haircut on your features as well. So maybe your cheekbones sit a little lower. That just means the angle of your haircut sits a little bit lower. It's this custom tailoring that really stands out beyond the natural God-given gift of just having great cheekbones or a great hairline or whatever. You have whatever foundation you have, and we can build with it. We can build something that's going to be suitable and tasteful and look good and complement your natural features. Another common one that I hear is, well, they just have naturally good hair. And I actually get this a lot on my Instagram posts. People go, oh, you only post people who have naturally good hair. The thing is, I think what gives us this perception of somebody having naturally good hair is that they're asking their hair to do something that it naturally wants to do. And so they go, well, their hair just styles itself. There's this effortless vibe to people that we assume just naturally have good hair. But ultimately what that is designing a haircut that does what the hair naturally wants to do. And so in the case of Brad Pitt, like his texture is kind of similar to mine, real straight and real, like if I get a blunt haircut, it looks texturized, it looks jagged, even if it's not a texturized cut. Brad Pitt's hair is kind of like that too. That's not to say that we can't texturize hair that otherwise doesn't naturally look that way. When David Beckham's hair, when his whole like short sides and kind of side part pomp thing, when that was like massive a bunch of years ago, I had every different kind of hair texture coming in and requesting that. And the thing is, it's like, sure, we can blow dry your hair and style it or chemically straighten it or whatever to make it do that. But if what you're seeing that makes them Brad Pitt-esque or otherworldly or unattainable is their hair just styles itself. I've got curly hair, I want this Brad Pitt hair, and I want it to style itself. It's like, well, maybe we can't give you exactly what Brad Pitt's hair is doing, but we can give you the it styles itself look, which I think, you know, regardless of what your texture is or where your cheekbones are or any of that, when you find a haircut that is built off of your facial proportions and your natural features and things, we're able to predict where the hair will go, how it's going to want to bend, and then we design a look that is based on that. You can absolutely have effortless hair. It'll give you that same vibe that you see on screen where you go, well, they just have good hair. The thing is, I've heard this about people with wavy hair, I've heard it about people with curly hair, I've heard it about people with straight hair. Everyone just has good hair, but the truth is they have good hair because it was cut to do what it wants to do. And that's something we can give you, even if you're not Brad Pitt. And even in the case, you know, if you want your hair to do this straight hair thing that you see this one celebrity doing, but you have wave or curl to it, even if we can't give you the exact same look, what we absolutely can give you exactly the same is the narrative. What do you mean by narrative? Well, think about this. When we see a lot of these celebrity hairstyles, like imagine you go see a movie and it's got like a captivating story. It's got like epic acting. The wardrobe is on point. Everything's tailored perfectly. The camera angles are just right. The color grading is beautiful. And like you walk out of that movie ready to buy a muscle car and a jacket with a scorpion on it, because by the end of the movie, you're like, this guy's freaking cool. There's like this whole story around his haircut. And if you really look at the haircut, it's just kind of a mundane haircut. But when Drive came out, I got a million requests for that haircut. Just like whenever any other big movie comes out with like this same situation, I get a ton of requests for it. Everybody wanted the Brad Pitt Fury haircut for years there. When I would actually zoom in on the haircut and cut Brad Pitt out of it, and they weren't sitting in the theater with the rumbling seats, and they looked at the haircut and I said, you want that? Most of the time they're like, oh no, actually I don't want that. So there is absolutely like a narrative behind everybody's hair. And I like to look at my job not as making hair shorter or doing a cleaner haircut, but figuring out what narrative is gonna fit you or what narrative you want and making your hair say that. Here's a good example. I'll go back to Ryan Gosling. In the movie The Place Beyond the Pines, his hair was real jagged, real unkempt. It was kind of like, it looked like a home bleach job. It was not tidy, it was not put together. But when you look at his character, who he portrayed, how he lived, it very much fit that look, and his hair was a part of that story. Let's look at somebody who has a completely different hair texture. Christian Camargo is a good example. Wildly different hair texture. But even with that different color and texture, you can find samples of him where his hair is saying the same thing. And so I can give you the narrative you want 100%, no matter what your texture is. And that's not even like a statement about like, oh, me, I'm so good. I'm not talking about being a better hair cutter here. I'm talking about being a storyteller through hair. And when you see these like celebrity cuts that you're like, oh, I can't pull that off. It's like, we can tell the same story it was telling. And you know, you get bonus points if it actually is somewhat truthful to your life and your lifestyle. You know, I've had guys come in where they want a haircut that looks nothing like the way they live, and I'm like, well, why don't you tell me more about where you work and what you do and how you spend your time? And I think ideally the goal is to fit the narrative of the look of the hair to that person's actual life. In fact, I would say when a client comes in and they show me a picture of a hairstyle that their hair just won't do, like they just have the complete wrong texture for it, I'll explain that to them. Or I'll say, look, if you want to straighten it like the picture, it's going to take 10 minutes a day with a hairdryer, blah, blah, blah. But then my next favorite question is, what does his hair say to you that you want your hair to say to the people around you? That is the core of what my consultations are about, is what do you want your hair to say today? So here's another thing about the Brad Pitts of the world is most of the time, 98% of the time when you see them, you Google hair inspiration or you just watch a movie or whatever, 98% of the time, they have an entire team of people working around them to make them look larger than life. You almost never, if ever, have seen Brad Pitt looking into a selfie camera on his phone. We don't know what he looks like that way. We only know what he looks like when he's like posed. He knows how to pose. He does that thing with his eyes. You do like this number, where you kind of close your eyes up from the bottom a little bit and steal up your brow. He always does that pose, and when you find the rare picture of him not doing that pose, you're like, whoa, he barely looks like Brad Pitt. He looks like a normal person. But also, whoever was behind the camera knew what they were doing. He had makeup on probably. Somebody styled his hair. And then the photographer sent their photo off to a retoucher who just color graded it and made everything look perfect. And that's how we usually see these people. And so we compare that to our like FaceTime calls and we go, oh my God, this is what I look like. Like, dude, that production value, that jump in production value is like probably a lot more of the difference between like why Brad Pitt can do this crazy haircut or why Brad Pitt gets a mundane buzzed head but it looks cool on him and not on me. That gap is more about production value than it is about facial features and bone structure. I guarantee it. You know how I know? I dabble with photography. I started dabbling with photography because of Instagram. A bunch of years ago, having great photos of haircuts really made a difference for my career. These days, photography is pretty much dead on Instagram, but I still enjoy portraiture because I like my clients to be able to see a picture of themselves like in that light, in the same light that you would see a model or a celebrity, so they can look at themselves and go, whoa, I do have the ingredients necessary to pull off that look. I actually can look like that. My underlying goal with every client, both through the haircut, if we end up taking photos, or like, I want people to leave going, I didn't know I could look like that. I didn't know I could have that look, that vibe, that feeling. You know, more so than I don't want somebody to leave and go, yeah, it's the best fade I ever got. I want them to leave and go, I didn't know I could look this way. you see this when you look at the celebrity types, you look at hair inspiration, they have a team around them doing that all the time. And so like as a hairdresser, I want to be able to look at any given person, see what's attractive about them, build a haircut that emphasizes that and works with that. And then given the opportunity, I would love to take photos and bring that out even further. And it's like, it's an entire industry of just beautifying people, and they have it working for them and we don't have it working for us. I've dabbled with photography enough to see what a difference it all makes. And I'm telling you, when you go, oh, I can't pull off that cool haircut that that celebrity did, it's because you don't have the same team behind you, so you don't see yourself the same way. But like, they're human, just like you're human. Their cheekbones might be in a little bit different place, but all that means is your haircut's gonna be a little bit in a different place in order to fit you. I'd be willing to bet if a professional photographer followed you around for a week in your daily life and just captured just the right moments of you, and they were really good behind the camera, you would go, oh my God, maybe I can be a model. Here's kind of a big overall takeaway about all of this, and I'm going to kind of point the finger at some hairdressers here, not individuals, but when I look around at Instagram, I'm like bombarded with haircuts. I follow haircutters, that's what I do. In the sea of great haircuts, perfect haircuts, amazing haircuts, what stands out to me is when I can see that somebody is doing these sorts of things, taking these approaches to hair, as opposed to just doing a perfect haircut. There are some haircutters out there who technically are flawless. They do flawless haircuts. A perfectly flawless haircut to me, it looks like AI, or it looks like the haircut's wearing the model. It's not suitable, it doesn't fit, or they'll turn them in a way where you can't even see the model's face. And I'm like, what are you, this is self-serving. This is like, everybody look at how good my haircut is. And now, don't get me wrong, like the art of haircutting being pushed to its furthest, like I'm not opposed to that. And many of these people, that's their goal, is to just push the craft of hairdressing beyond practical applications for storytelling for a client or making something suitable to a client, but otherwise just isolating the cut itself in a vacuum where nothing else matters. I get that. But I'll scroll, and an account will pop up and I can tell immediately that they think this way about hair. And then I'll dig through their stuff, and sure enough, like recently I've started following, and I wish I could remember their accounts so I could shout them out, but I follow somebody who regularly cuts Ryan Gosling's hair. I follow somebody who regularly cuts Robert Pattinson. And what's funny is on these people's accounts, when I saw their work on just normal people, I was like, they get it. They're doing something really good here. And then I'll scroll through, and sure enough, 6 months ago, they're posting pictures with these celebrities. And I'm like, that's right. And so there's this approach to hair where you're able to take somebody and really emphasize what they have going on. And as it turns out, a lot of these celebrity hairstylists are doing that. I'll point out another great example here and give you a giant shout out to Rob from Swarm. When I first found them, like Rob and Swarm, it was like right when they were on Instagram. They had like 10,000 followers, maybe if that. But the very first time I looked through his account, I was like, this guy's gonna make it big. Because what he does is he grabs like normies, like normal people, and he's able to put these looks on them that are so avant-garde and outlandish and out of this world, over the top big, but they're suitable at the same time. He's able to look at people and see like that, just something about them, and then curate a look around them. And of course, he has the team as well. They do wardrobe, they do photography, and all of that plays into it. But repeatedly, you see people sit in his chair and they're just like a normal Joe, and then they come out looking like a literal rock star. Rob has that thing. Rob has that something. And that something is something that I hold personally in like my highest regard for like what I'm trying to do with hair. My clients here in Nashville, Tennessee, if you're in the area, come let me treat you like a celebrity. I'm not trying to give them the cleanest fade they've ever seen. They could get that down the street for half my price. I want them to walk out of here with hair that fits them better than any other hair could ever fit them. I want them to walk out of here with hair that's easier to style than it's ever been to style. I want them to walk out of here feeling more like themselves than they've ever felt. Like my story is being told through my hair. People will look at me and know exactly who I am. Yeah, I don't know, I kind of got trailed off on the end there, as I tend to do, but I just wanted to share some thoughts on this morning as I'm drinking my coffee and getting ready to take my first client. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're into this sort of thing.